I've picked up some items in the last 60 days that I listed and sold within the same 24 hours. And these particular items have changed my reselling business, especially lately. On the flip side, see what I did there? I've also been happily getting rid of some inventory that I will likely never pick up again. And what kind of reseller YouTuber would I be if I did not share these specific items with my people? Hello, my fellow flippers, friends, and family. If you're new here, my name is Taylor Jo, and I am a now full-time, since school is over, stay-at-home mom and a part-time reseller. I started this journey back in October 2024 with the intention of just making a little extra cash on the side for the family. I created this channel as a way to connect to other resellers and also to share my journey and what I've been learning along the way. I will take new and experienced resellers here, and could the experienced ones please stick around because us noobs could really use your insight. If you're not new here, like, whoa, there's suddenly over 1,000 of you. I have no idea how that happened. I am super curious to know who the heck is subscribing to my channel. So if you could please comment down below and introduce yourself if you haven't already, and tell me what brought you here. And also, thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, feel free to, right now. Do it. Anyways, I'm gonna break this video up into two parts, starting with the items that sold super fast, the ones that you're definitely gonna wanna write down, and ending with the ones that collected dust in my inventory for far longer than I'd hoped. The ones that you also might wanna write down, but in the don't pick this up part of your reseller's notebook. I'm also gonna quickly break down why some things did sell fast or why they didn't sell fast, because knowing why is what makes it stick. Let's get started. So the first item I want to talk about is this garage hub. I actually picked this up at a garage sale for $2. This particular day, I was really interested in sourcing some tech, which isn't a category that I have a lot of experience in. But when I found this garage hub, I noticed that it had a super high sell-through rate. If you're a noob and you haven't seen my most recent video, something has a high sell-through rate when there's more sold in the last 90 days than there is currently listed. Because this item had such a high sell-through rate, like I'm pretty sure it was like 200% or something like that. There was more than double sold than what was selling. This sold in under 10 minutes. I literally listed it and sold it in 10 minutes. It was crazy. And it sold for $19. So that was like a super quick flip that fit within the ROI that I'm looking for. Next, we have these shorts. These shorts are a brand called Bird Dog. I actually was personally not familiar with this brand, but when I was thrifting with my mom at a local thrift store, the brand name caught her eye, and she searched it and found out that it's actually like a trendy backyard barbecue dad shorts brand, and the sell-through rate was very high on these. I picked these up for about $4 and I sold them for somewhere between 20 and 30 in under a week. So if you do see this brand out in the wild, definitely pick it up. It's trending right now. Next up is this pair of Buckle black jeans. I've definitely heard from other clothing resellers that Buckle, or like BKE Buckle, is a great brand to pick up, but I've never heard anybody talk about these Buckle black jeans. But when I saw this pair of jeans at my local thrift store for $4, I went ahead and looked them up, and sure enough, they have a super high sell-through rate. And to be honest, I have several pairs of BKE Buckle jeans still sitting in my inventory that did not flip as fast as these did. Anyways, they flipped in under a week for $22. It's a great find. Next up is Loop earplugs. I've talked about these on my channel a few times, but I've sold at least 3 pairs of these in the last 60 days. So I'll just briefly mention that if you have Amazon liquidator bin stores near you, these are stores that buy pallets of returned Amazon merchandise. They basically toss everything into bins and they sell it for a different dollar amount each day. It is not uncommon to find Loop earbuds in the Amazon bins for some reason, and we usually get them on $1 a day, and they flip super fast, like somewhere between 1 and 3 days for $10 to $20, depending on whether or not you have the box, but they will sell whether or not you do have the box, just for less money. But either way, it's a super fast flip, and it doesn't take up hardly any space in your inventory. They also weigh nothing, so they cost very little to ship. So I would highly recommend picking these up if you see them at your local Amazon bin liquidator store. Next up, we have baby carriers, and not just any baby carriers. I'll go into more detail about brands in a second, but I do want to mention that the baby carriers that I sold in the last 60 days were part of my first consignment deal. If you don't know what consignment is when someone gives you items to sell for them and you take a cut of the profits when they sell. This is one of the reasons why you want to let people know that you're a reseller. If this person did not know that I was a reseller, I would have missed out on this opportunity where somebody said, hey, I have several trash bags full of Tula baby carriers and Coach bags. Could you please sell these for me because I don't feel like it? Heck yes, I'll sell those for you. Consignment deals are yours to set, but I did have to Google how much of a cut a consignment deal normally takes, and it was somewhere between 40 and 60%. Because this was my first time doing a consignment deal, I offered to take 40% of the profits, and the person agreed. Now, to get into brands, several of the baby carriers that she gave me were Tula brand. I've sold several of the Tula brand ones, and I've sold a couple of other brands as well, specifically this one called Baby Hawk, which had a great sell-through rate on it as well, and this super wild card one called Kokadi. Kokadi? I have no idea how to pronounce it. But this is a situation that I need to bring up because there was no way I wasn't going to attempt to sell it, because why not? But when I went to go do comps on it, there was actually none sold and none listed on eBay in this brand. So what do you do when that happens? Well, I would highly recommend looking up what the item sells for brand new. So when I found the website for this brand, I noticed that they were selling for anywhere between $200 and $300, which I just think is outrageous for a thick piece of fabric, but whatever. My goal was to get it sold fast, so I ran my comps based on how similar they were to the Tula baby carriers, and I decided to bump up the price a little bit from what those were selling as, just because they're more expensive than the Tula ones are brand new. So I listed this for $75, and I was able to flip it in a couple of weeks for $75. So that's a little tip on what to do if you're having trouble finding comps for a specific item. However, that does not mean that the specific item you're looking for is going to sell on eBay. I had no way of knowing whether this item was gonna sell or not. I just got lucky, seriously. All right, next up is Coach purses. I did mention it just a second ago, and don't worry, I'm not gonna glaze over it. Obviously, Coach is a very well-known designer bag brand. The person who gave me these Coach bags to consign wasn't sure if these were authentic or inauthentic. And oddly enough, half of them were authentic and half of them weren't. Now, you might not know this, but it is actually completely illegal to sell counterfeit goods, even if you explicitly state that the item is counterfeit. I mentioned this in my very first YouTube video about all of the mistakes that I made during my first 90 days of reselling. I'll link that up here. Anyways, for the authentic ones, I was able to flip those in under a month. And for the inauthentic ones, I'm not gonna sell those on eBay. It's not worth the risk. I know you're probably asking, Taylor, how did you know if they were authentic or not? I didn't. I had to do a little bit of research and compare the bags to other bags that are definitely authentic. I know I say the word bags funny. I'm from Wisconsin. I don't know why I say it weird. I'm sorry. The Coach bags did have model numbers on the inside, and when I looked them up to compare them with other authentic bags, a few of the bags did not match what they're supposed to look like, so it was obvious that those were counterfeit. For the other ones, I'm actually genuinely not sure if they were authentic or not, but they seemed to look exactly like other ones people were selling. And unlike the Nike shoes that I failed to sell my first 90 days, these ones did not have to go through any sort of authentication guarantee, so I just took it as it was. And I was happy to flip a couple of the bags in under a month. Next up, we have this Asus brand router. Always look up router, especially if you are familiar with the name brand and it is a big one like Asus. I spotted this at a garage sale for $5 and I knew that it was worth looking up. And sure enough, when I looked up the comps, the sell-through rate was through the roof and these things were selling for over $100. Unfortunately, this one did not come with a power adapter. And this is something that I really want to talk to you guys about because it might not be something you think of as a new reseller, but you can absolutely buy the missing parts for your items to get them sold quicker on eBay. If I listed this item without the adapter, it probably still would have sold, but it probably would have taken longer and definitely sold for less. But I went ahead and decided to pay $16 to Amazon to have a power adapter delivered to me in less than 2 days. So I was in it for $21. I was able to flip this in under 24 hours from listing it to $150. I'd say buying the adapter was definitely worth it. It's something that you might want to consider doing when you buy an incomplete item. Next up, we have this keyboard. This keyboard I was able to flip in 3 hours. Why? Why did it sell so quickly? Well, obviously the sell-through rate was super high. This is a Microsoft Natural Ergonomic keyboard. Now, to be honest, I haven't done too much research on keyboards, but it is tech, so it's definitely something that you want to look into sell-through rate when you find it. Not all keyboards are equal. I would definitely, though, look up the ones with the big names that you recognize, like Microsoft, for example. We got this at a Goodwill for, I think, $7, and I was able to flip it in 3 hours for $50. Definitely worth picking up. It was definitely overpriced at that Goodwill, though. $7 for a keyboard? I also would like to mention that this keyboard was very dusty when I bought it, so I did go the extra mile to make sure that it was super, super clean before I took photos for my listing. And please take the time on some of your items to make sure that they are clean before you list them. Some things, it's not even worth it, but most things are. Just take that extra 5 minutes or less to just wipe it down with a Lysol wipe, or it just really depends on what the item is. But it could make a difference in whether or not someone buys your item. And lastly, I have one little honorable mention just because this is a very, very specific item, but I sold this Furbo dog camera that I found at a garage sale for $5. I flipped it in under a week for $36, and I don't know, if you find this at Goodwill, buy it and flip it because it's just works really well. It flips super fast. So it's just such a specific item. Like, I don't know if there are other brands of dog camera that flip treats at your dog while you're not home, but this Furbo specifically brand one sells really well. So if you find it, pick it up. All right, now let's move on to the items that you should avoid, and leave your reseller's notebook out because you're probably gonna wanna write these items down too. So the first item that I have are these clear backpacks. These are meant for like going to events or like music events or stadiums or something like that, where they require you to carry a clear bag so that they can see everything that's inside of it before you enter said event space. These are one of the many things that I bought from the stupid online liquidator that I will never ever buy from again. I bought these for $20. I had 30 of them, so less than $1 each. And I have had these since the very beginning of my journey. I have marked them at several different price points, from $15 all the way down to $3. And once I got them down to $3, I sold 3 of them, but I still haven't sold any since. I have since removed them completely from eBay. If you watched my last video, there was a part in it where I said that it might be a good idea to just take a listing completely down from eBay if it's not selling well. So right now I am attempting to sell these on different platforms like Facebook Marketplace. I'm trying to sell them locally, like in my neighborhood. I'm trying a little bit of everything to get rid of these things. I just want to make a little bit of profit on them, but I swear I'm this close to just taking them to Goodwill and just being like, here you go, never mind, I don't want to deal with it anymore. But the reason that I brought this one up is because sometimes a multi-quantity purchase sounds really exciting in theory, but like, please make sure that the sell-through rate makes sense, because the sell-through rate on these, like -6 billion%, okay? It's not gonna work. Don't buy stuff like this, okay? Next up, we have this Marco Fiore sweater. Nothing about the brand. I don't know anything about this brand, and the brand is actually not at all the point of me mentioning this. The point of me mentioning this is that this sweater is made out of merino wool, and it is also Italian. The reason that I bring that up is because when I first started selling clothing on eBay, a lot of other clothing resellers recommended picking up stuff that was Italian made. So this was my first time finding something that was Italian made, and I got really excited until I got home and realized that the size on the sweater did not really match the measurements of the sweater. That is because it was made out of wool, and because I bought it at Goodwill, it was washed. When items that aren't meant to be washed are washed, they shrink. So here's my pro tip. If you pick up a garment from literally anywhere that is made out of a material that cannot be washed, please assume that it has been washed. And what you're gonna wanna do for your listing is make sure that you have one of these. It's a yardstick that costs $2 at your local hardware store. Got mine at Lowe's. See? Use the yardstick in your listing to prove the item's size. That way, your buyer can't open an item not as described return when the item does not fit because the size does not match the size. So bottom line, the reason I brought this item up is make sure that your buyer knows exactly what they're getting. You literally cannot be too descriptive on any of your listings. It wouldn't be an exciting video if we didn't talk about Lululemon. This is a super hot brand right now, but unfortunately, what I've learned about reselling this brand is unless you find something that's relatively new or something that's like super high quality, like a jacket or maybe those fanny packs that literally everybody is wearing right now, the Lululemon fanny pack, I don't even know what you call it. I swear I've been to like 100 garage sales in the last 60 days, and every single person selling stuff at these garage sales had one of those bags. I'm like, what is going on? There's just like a revolution with these Lululemon bags. I don't get it. I actually don't know if the sell-through rate on those bags are good, so don't take my word for that. I just know that they're popular right now. So I picked up this skirt a while back, and because it was winter when I got it, it wasn't really moving, but since the weather has warmed up all over the country, this skirt finally did sell, which is great. So I'm not gonna say it was a slow mover, but I think it's worth mentioning that a lot of clothing brands are super oversaturated, and Lululemon is definitely one of those brands. I have a couple of other Lululemon brand stuff, and actually just this weekend I finally sold a Lululemon brand thing, but I literally lost money on it because I couldn't sell it for more than what I paid for it, which was like $7. So obviously make your own decisions on what you want to buy with clothing, but personally for me, Lululemon, I'm never picking up again unless it was something that was made in the last year. All right, the last thing I have for the probably don't buy this list is this horse trailer cookie jar. Not specifically that it's a horse trailer or a cookie jar, but specifically that it is a very large, very fragile, very heavy item. Now, obviously, it kind of is gonna depend on your niche on whether or not you pick up something like this. If vintage cookie jars is your niche, then pick up vintage cookie jars. That's totally fine. But if you're an everything seller, like I am, you probably don't want to pick up very large, very fragile, very heavy items. This cookie jar sold pretty quickly. However, it cost $36 to ship because of the sheer amount and weight of shipping supplies I had to use to make sure that this thing made it to its location without breaking. And it did make it to its location without breaking. And it was kind of a nice sale because the seller left me a note saying that it was a Christmas present for somebody, and it's kind of weird because it's May right now, but hey, I'm not judging. It's good to get your Christmas shopping done early. But yeah, this is definitely my last like big, heavy, fragile item. Just no. And all of that is to say, just make sure when you are buying an item for resale that you can anticipate how much something is going to cost to ship. And I'm not even talking about like the actual cost. I'm talking about like the cost of materials you're using to put inside the box so that it doesn't break, and the cost of your time that it's going to take for you to pack something. You can buy something that's super, super, super heavy and has a great sell-through rate, but like just think about how that item is going to be transported before you buy it for resale. And my bird is whistling in the background now again, so if you can hear screeching or whistling, I apologize. Anyways, those are the items that I sold in the last 60 days that I would not recommend picking up. I do have a couple of just like random tips that will definitely help you if you're a new reseller. Someone asked me in one of my previous videos if I promote my listings, and the answer is yes. I promote pretty much every single one of my listings. At minimum, I promote my listings at 3%. At maximum, if something's been sitting for a really long time and there's a lot of competition, I will go up all the way to 10% on promoting listings. Don't be afraid to raise your promoted listings percentage to get something out of your inventory, especially if it was something that was a bad buy in the first place, or if it has a lot of competition. And my other tip that I just wanted to share, because this is something that I've been able to prove to myself in the last 60 days, listing daily does make a difference. eBay is not going to tell you that they definitely like active stores, but if you think about it, they're a business and they're making money off of you. And if you are an active store, they are definitely going to make sure that your stuff gets sold over somebody that doesn't list anything. Obviously, there's some variables here, and there are probably certain categories where it doesn't matter how much you list. If you have like a super, super in-demand niche with like a very low or no supply, then obviously that's different. But if you're an everything seller, list every single day. The algorithm will love you for it. These past 60 days, I was listing an average of 3 things per day, and my sales were like through the roof. And to be honest, as I'm filming this, today is the day after Memorial Day, I didn't list over the entire weekend. And I didn't even schedule listings over the entire weekend because, to be honest, I didn't have anything in my drafts to list. But because my family is my #1 priority, not my eBay store, I didn't mind it. But now that it's Tuesday, I'm back to listing 3 things a day, and sales are gonna pick up. I just know it. All right, guys, that concludes all of the items that I have to share today. I genuinely hope that you got something out of this video. If you either mentally or physically noted any of these down, leave a little check mark emoji in the comments below, and subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every other Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Haven't been late yet, which really surprises me. And I've got some really interesting ideas brewing. So I will see you in a couple of weeks, and happy reselling. Bye.